What if I told you there was one drill you could be doing in any practical shooting discipline that would improve your scores immediately if you would just devote time to this, aside from just the regular skill building drills that you're practicing? Would you do it? So the drill that I'm talking about you can do with basically any setup as long as you have a space that provides a little bit of movement and you can get a bunch of targets set up. Now, if you look on the wall behind me, there are a ton of targets there. You don't need quite that many targets, but you kind of have to build up. And that skill is memorization and visualization. And effectively what ends up happening when people start practicing and dry firing, they're gonna be really squared away on just the basic fundamentals of getting the gun out of the holster or whatever, but they don't practice the visualization and memorization part. So what ends up happening, this is every new shooter ever who's ever shot a practical shooting thing. They're gonna think their way through the stage, and what that's gonna look like is this. They're gonna draw slow, they're gonna over aim on the target, pow, pow. They're gonna look around, then they're gonna drive their eyes to it, and pow, pow. And usually these people are significantly better than the skill that they're putting out there, but the problem is they're thinking their way through the stage, and that is slow. The way you need to be doing it is to actually memorize what you're going to do in minute detail, then rehearse it in your mind, visualize it of what it's gonna look like behind the gun. Don't talk to yourself, but actually just see what you would see as you aim at each target, where your eyes need to go. If I finish shooting a target over here and the next one's over here, you need to, in your mind, pop your head over there and get to it. So you can set this up just as I've done with a bunch of targets, and all you end up doing is picking an array, visualizing it, memorizing it, and shooting it exactly one time, and then doing it again with a completely different array. And you don't have to shoot all the targets. And initially what you're gonna find is that this is a very challenging drill. So you're gonna end up spending about 30 seconds for one run if you're doing it properly, getting set up to shoot just like you would in a match, and then actually trying to execute it in dry fire. And the more you do it, the more elaborate you can get. So start simply, pick only a handful of targets. So if I wanted to pick, say, the open target on the right, drive to the large target at the bottom, to the partial target on the far left, and finish on the plate. That would be a simple array, and I could start doing that. So what that's gonna look like is this. I need to use my handy dandy shot timer to put pressure on myself. If you don't have a shot timer, this is probably the single best thing you can buy to practice with if you're gonna be taking this seriously. Now, I'm not gonna be using a par time for this particular drill, but you should be using par times and trying to drive them down aggressively. So I'm just gonna use this as a beep to react to. So we're gonna dry fire this drill just as I've said it. And so I'm gonna do everything I would do in a make ready routine to actually go and shoot, and then shoot the drill. So it's not terribly exciting. It feels difficult to do, but the more you get proficient at it, the more patterns you can do and make it be more like mini stages. And it gets harder and harder to do. And since I've got a whole garage to play with, what I'm ultimately working up to is doing target skipping, which is a skill you need to be working on because you don't necessarily shoot every target from every position. So that's a good skill that you're training. You're obviously training the visualization, the memorization, and you can work in movement and reloads, and I'll give you an example of that as well. So just for argument's sake, quickly, I'm gonna shoot all the steel right to left from the right. I'm gonna reload running to the left and then shoot all the paper left to right. So I'm gonna do one walkthrough and then I do it like I would from the shooting box. You can see the water on the floor in my garage. It's been raining pretty hard in Dallas, so you might get to watch me bust my tail too, which should be really, really exciting. So that's it. It's not a terribly exciting drill, but it pays a lot of benefit, I'm telling you. If you can work this into your dry fire routine heading up to your first match or whenever your next match is for about a week, you'll notice when you do get to the match, you can memorize things faster and you'll be able to get more of the skill you're capable of in practice when the clock goes off. Because a lot of people, they say, oh, when the clock goes off, everything's out the window. That means they are not practicing memorization. So if you practice memorization and visualization, you'll do much better at your next match. So I appreciate you guys. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one.